Okay, so let's look at the review for your test for tomorrow. And I am going to omit some of the questions, so we're going to go through and do ones just like that are on the test. Okay, so on the test, there are 6 problems. There are 6 LCD equations. Total of 6. Okay, so we're going to do a couple, we'll probably do 1 through 5. Okay, so number 1, you need to find the LCD. So if I find the LCD between 5, 2, and 10, that would be 10. Then we multiply each piece by the LCD. So I'm going to put a 10 here, a 10 here, and a 10 here. Okay, so then we want to reduce. So this is a 10 divided by a 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And this is multiplying. So that's going to be 2 times m. Okay, then we have 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Again, this is multiplying. It's a negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 equals, and on this side, the 10s cancel, so we just get the 3. So now let's solve for m here. So we would add the 2 over, which would be 5, divide by 2, so m equals 5 over 2. There's no variable in the LCD, so I don't have to worry about what does x not equal. Okay, number 2, first thing, find the LCD between 2, 3, and 2. That would be 6. Multiply every piece by 6 and reduce. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Remember, this is multiplying, so 3x squared. This is a negative 4x times 2. So negative 8x equals 1 times 3 is 3. Now, if you have an x squared in your equation, move everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract the 3 over to make this equal 0. So we have to factor here. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. List your factors. 1 and 9, 3 and 3. The 8 is negative, so the right side's negative. And we're multiplying to get a negative, so these are positive. So we need this positive 1 and negative 9. Now be careful here because we haven't done one in a while with a 3 on the front. So we're going to take that plus 1 and divide by 3x. We're going to take that negative 9 and divide by 3x and simplify. So this would be negative 3 over x. So we have 3x plus 1, and we have x minus 3 equals 0. When you have two pieces like this, you separate them. So one is 3x plus 1 equals 0, and one is x minus 3 equals 0. So to solve for x here, we would subtract the 1 and then divide by the 3. And on this one, we would add the 3. So 2 answers on that one. Number 3, find the LCD, which is x minus 3. Now we have an x here, so go ahead and say, well, what can x not equal? If you set this equal to 0 and solve, you'd get positive 3. So multiply each piece by the LCD, and it cancels. So now we just have what's left on top. 7x equals 5x plus 6. So combine the x's, subtract the 5x, that would be 2x equals 6, and divide by 2, x equals 3. And a giant red flag should appear in your mind, because if this says x equals 3 and this says x cannot equal 3, that would be a no solution. Okay, number 4. Go ahead and, if there's no denominators, put 1s under the denominators. And now let's find our LCD. So our LCD would just be a 1x because there's no numbers here. If for, say there was like a 2 here and a 3 here, we would need the 2 and the 3, so it would be then a 6x in the denominator. But in this case it's just the single 1x. Since it's a single x, x cannot equal 0. So let's multiply everything by the LCD. So nothing cancels here because it's just a 1. So we have an x times an x is x squared, not 2x. Some of you keep putting 2x. In the middle here we have a positive 1 times an x is positive x equals, these x's cancel, and we get 2. Again, if you have an x squared, just like in number 2, move everything to that side. So we're going to subtract the 2 over. So make your factor tree for negative 2, 1 and 2. The middle is positive, so the 2 is positive, and the 1 is negative. In this case, we don't have a number here, so we can just divide by x. So we have x minus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. And we split those up. X minus 1 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. So solve for x here. X equals 1. Subtract 2. X equals negative 2. Okay, number 5. So one like this, you can definitely find the LCD first, but because you have this quadratic on the top, let's go ahead and factor that first. So I have negative 12 on top, and I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Okay, the negative x in the middle, so these are all negative, and these are positives. And I'm trying to add to get a negative 1, so that would be this option here. Remember, divide by x. So on the top, we have x plus 3 and x minus 4 over x minus 4 equals 7. Okay, so when we do this, you can see the x minus 4's cancel. So if we write now what's left, x plus 3 equals 7, and I can subtract the 3, so x equals 4. Now the thing we didn't do, since we didn't find the LCD, we didn't say what can x not equal. And so you take the denominator, it would be positive 4, and there's that red flag, which would be no solution. Okay, so again on the test, there are 6 LCD equations that you have to solve. Okay, so all of those types are good examples. All right, number 10. We're going to skip to number 10, is an inequality. There is one inequality problem on the test. Okay, first thing, move this number over. So I'm going to subtract that 1 to the left. Okay, find the LCD, x minus 6, so x cannot equal 6. And we want to multiply that to this one. So when I multiply it on, right here, x minus 6 over x minus 6 over the LCD, less than or equal to 0. Okay, and then remember you're going to do some simplifying here. So distribute the negative 1. So 4 minus x plus 6 over the LCD is less than or equal to 0. I'll come up here. I can combine the 4 and the 6, so I have negative x plus 10 over the LCD. And then you always want to take out that GCF, especially if it's a negative. Let's take that out. So I have a negative 1 times x minus 10 over the LCD x minus 6 less than or equal to 0. So after that, you find the critical values. Come up here a little. Okay, so the critical values, you set the top equal to 0. So this would give me positive 10. And this would give me positive 6. Okay, so let's put that on the number line. So I have 6 and 10, and you want to pick 3 numbers to try. Okay, so let's first put the 6 is going to be an open circle because from the bottom it's always open because it can't equal that number. On the top, it matches the inequality sign. So in this case, it's closed because there's an equal sign under here. Okay, so let's test something less than 6. I'm going to test 0. Something in between 6 and 10, I'll test 8. And something after 10, I'll test 12. And I'm plugging it into this simplified form here. So I have negative 1 times 0 minus 10 over 0 minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. We want to see if that's true or false. So negative 1 times, this will be a negative 10, is positive 10 over negative 6. that would be negative 5/3, which is less than 0, so that's true. So we shade that area. X equals 8, let's plug that in. Negative 1 times 8 minus 10 over 8 minus 6, is that less than or equal to 0? Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2 over 2, which is 1, and that is not less than 0. And then x equals 12, negative 1 times 12 minus 10 over 12 minus 6, is that less than or equal to 0? Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 over 6, which is negative 1/3. That is less than 0. So we can shade to the right. So then our answer here, we would say x is less than 6 or x is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, so there will be one inequality on the test. Okay, number 13, we have a batting average, and number 14, we have the average for the free throws. Okay, so there's going to be two average problems on the test. Okay, so we're going to do 13 and 14. So Jason's batting average is currently .330, or you could say the 38 out of 115. His coach says he needs to raise his batting average to .425 to make the all-star team. How many consecutive hits does he need to get to reach that average? Okay, so you have, let's say his current average and then his goal average. Okay, so the current average, you can use either, I'm going to use this number, the hits. On the average part you want to use, or his current average part, you want to use the hits. Okay, so he's already done 38 hits, so we want to see how many more hits does he need. So the current is what gets the X's, and the goal is just going to be the number. So his goal is the 425, and I'm going to move the decimal 3 places, so put 425 over 1,000. Multiple ways to do this part. You could do .425 over 1. You could reduce this. It's whatever you'd like to do. Okay, find the LCD, which are the two denominators. So you have 115 plus x and the 100, and multiply that on both sides. So here cross out the 115 plus x, here cross out the 100. So now I have 100 times 38 plus x equals 425 times 115 plus x. So let's distribute. Let me get my calculator. Okay, sorry, how to get my calculator. So if we distribute, we get 3,800 plus 100x equals 48875 plus 425x. Okay, so we want to combine the x's, so I'm going to move the 100x to this side, and I'm going to move the number, oh, that's a 1,000. Sorry, I didn't write 1,000 there. It's going to change that and that and that. Okay, sorry about that. I wrote 100 when I said 1,000. It should have been 1,000. Okay, so if I subtract now, I'm going to subtract the other way. So I'm going to subtract 425x right over here. So 1,000 minus 425 is 575x. And I'm going to subtract the 38,000 to this side. So 48875 minus 38,000 is equal to 10875, and we would divide that by 575 to get x. So x equals 18.9. So he needs about 19 more hits in order to reach that average of 425. Okay, so now let's do number 14. It's the same type of problem. Again, there's 2 average problems on the test. So if you can do these 2, then you should be good to go. Okay, Derek has made 26 out of 38. So there's his current. 26 out of 38, which means the current gets the X's. He wants to end the season with a 75% free throw shot record. Okay, so his goal is to make 75%. So I'm going to do 75 over 100. You could do 0.75 over 1. How many more consecutive shots does he need to make to reach his desired average? Okay, so same thing as we did before. Find the LCD. So 100 times 38 plus X. Multiply both sides by that. So 100 times 38 plus X. 100 times 38 plus X. So we have 100 times 26 plus X equals 75 times 38 plus X. So distribute. 2600 plus 100X equals 2850 plus 75X. So combine the X's. I'm going to subtract 75X over here, which will be 25X. And I'm going to subtract 2600 over here, which would be 250. Divide by 25. So 10. So he needs to make 10 more consecutive shots in order to reach his desired average.
Welcome to class, boys and girls. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so if you want to write above here, work. Okay, so there's going to be two types of work problems. One where you have to find the total, which is like this first one. So on this first one, you have Ron, and you have Hermione, and then the total. Can you see that? I can zoom in some. Okay, so Ron, everything when you do a work problem, it's always 1 over plus 1 over equals 1 over. Okay, so on a work problem, it's always like that. So if Ron can complete it in 10 hours, put a 10 on the bottom. Hermione can do it in 4 hours. So what will I put under for the total?
X.
X, good. Okay, so then we need to find the LCD. What's the LCD between 10, 4, and X? 40X, or you can do one lower than that, 20X. So multiply everything by the LCD. Okay, so are we doing 20X or 40X? 20? It'll work either way. So 20X, 20X, 20X. Okay, and then we're going to simplify. So 20 over 10 is what?
2X.
2X. So then we have 2X plus 20 over 4 is 5. So 5X equals, what crosses out on the right? The X's. So we just have 1 times 20. Okay, don't try to add these. I've seen some people write addition there. It's not addition. It's 1 times 20. It's 5X times 1. So how do I solve that?
Maybe add the 2X and 5X.
Add the 2X and 5X, which would be 7X.
And maybe divide it by.
And then divide by 7.
There you go.
So what is that? 2.86?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so 2.86 hours for them to complete the job together. Okay, so like I said, there are 2 work problems on the test. One is like this, where you find the total. And then we're going to do number 17, where you have to find one of the people. Okay, so let's go, can I go down to 17? Okay. Okay, so 17, we have Brian. And we have Donnie. And the total. So again, you always have ones on top. So it says, when working together, Brian and Donnie mop a warehouse in 5.83 hours. Where does that go? under the total, 5.83. Had he done it alone, it would have taken Donnie 15 hours. How long would it take Brian to do it alone? So Brian gets the X, that's what we're going to solve for. So when you see that they're talking about work problems tomorrow, it's 1 over something plus 1 over something equals 1 over something. So what is the LCD for this one? Because we've got some weird numbers.
15.
Not just 15. When you have the weird numbers, you can multiply it together or you can write it out. So you could do 15 times 5.83 times X. You can just write out everything. And so then when you go to simplify, it's a little bit easier. So if I multiply everything by the LCD, 15, 5.83, and X, everything gets the LCD. So if you leave it spread apart like that, it makes it a little bit easier when you go to cross things out. See if I can move that out of the way. There we go. Okay, so here the X crosses out, and I just have 15 times 5.83, so 87.45, plus, what crosses out on Donnie's fraction?
15.
The 15, so we just get 5.83x equals, and on the total, that 5.83 crosses out, we get 15x. How do you solve for x? Yeah, subtract this over. So we'll get 87.45 equals, thank you, 9.17x. And how do you solve for x? Yeah, divide. So 87.45. So x equals 9.54. Okay, so what you should do tonight is go home, cover these up, or get a blank review and try to work them without looking at them. Okay, so those are the two work problems. Are you ready for 18? Okay, so number 18 is on the board. I put inverse variation. So it says the time it takes a salesman to drive a certain distance, D, varies inversely. So for inverse variation, our equation is y equals k divided by x. So we have D, and then it says inversely as the average speed R, so D and R. As D goes up, R goes which way? Down. Okay, now this question's not quite right because it talks about distance and then it talks about hours. So I think it should have been like time here. We're just going to use the 4.75 as our distance. We'll just pretend it's right. Okay, so they give you that information. They give you 4.75 hours, and then they give you the rate is 60. Okay, so if this is our original equation, then if you want to put in your other variables, they talked about the D first, so it goes in for Y, and then they talked about the R, that goes in for X. So what do we have to find first on this? K. You always find K first. So we're going to plug in D. 4.75 equals K over 60. How do you solve for K? Good. Multiply by 60. So 60 times 4.75, bless you, K equals 285.
How do you know where to put everything?
So I'm looking at this equation. When it talks about the very first variable it mentions is D, that goes in for the Y.
Okay.
And then it talks about R, that goes in for the X. So then it says, how long would it take to drive at 50 miles an hour? So there's 50, and there's our question mark. So we're gonna find D. We just found K is 285, and we're gonna divide that by 50. So if you divide that, you get 5.7 hours. Although that's not distance, but that's okay. Okay, so you're gonna have one inverse problem, one direct problem, and then one of each like we did yesterday. So let's do 19. At a lemonade stand, the profit P, so we always start with that first letter goes up, varies directly with the number of cups C. So is C up or down? It is up because it's direct. Okay, direct variation is y equals k times x. So let's make our little chart here. If the profit is 10.25 when 41 cups are sold, what is the profit when 25 cups are sold? So you can always start with this equation, y equals kx. You don't have to put the other variables in, but I think sometimes it's easier. Which variable goes in for y? P. I keep the k times c. So we're solving for k. So I'm going to input 10.25 equals k times 41. Divide by 41. K is 0.25. So you always find K first. Then you go back and you take the second part they gave you. So they gave you C, and we're going to use the K to find P. So we're still using P equals K times C. So we don't know P. K is 0.25 times C, which is 25. Thank you. So the profit is 6.25 or $6.25. Okay, so number 18 is an inverse problem, 19 is a direct problem. Are there any questions on either of those? We're okay on those two? Okay, so let's do then the jointly and then the combination problem. So 21.
These are formulas? Are they going to be given to us?
I will probably give you, like, I'll give you y equals kx, and I'll give you y equals k times x.
Okay.
I won't give you the jointly and the combination because you have to know where to put those.
Right.
So that's what we'll go over
Based on
now.
the
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so 21 is the varies jointly. So if you weren't here yesterday, this is what we did yesterday. This one varies jointly. So first let's write our letters out. The heat Q, so we always start with that up arrow, required to raise the temperature of water varies jointly as the mass M. So does M go up or down for varies jointly? Up, good. And the amount of temperature change T, what does T do? Up. So varies jointly, everything goes the same way, everything goes up. So varies jointly is using your direct variation formula, only you have an extra variable. So we just fill in Q equals K times M times T. Okay, so you just have this extra variable. It's pointed up so it stays on the top. Nothing's being divided on varies jointly. Nothing's being divided. Like on 23 when we do inverse, something gets divided. Like this, K times M times T. There's all multiplication.
It is part of the problem, okay.
Okay, just ignore what I just said then.
I don't know what you said.
Okay, then never mind. Okay, so let's fill in our table. So we have Q is 29930 when the mass is 1 and the temperature is 15. Then they want us to find M when Q is 8372 and T is 10. So we're going to use this first row and find K. So you plug in all your information, times 1 times 15. How do you solve for K? Divide. 1 times 15 is just 15, so we'll divide by 15. 29930. So K is 1995.3. Gosh, y'all weren't even born yet in 1995, huh?
I was.
Was that like 20-year-olds? I'm getting old. Okay, so then we're gonna plug in all the information, and now we want to find M. So Q equals K times M times T. So same equation, nothing changes there. But now we're going to use 8372 equals, we just found K, 1995.3. We're looking for M, and we know T is 10. So you can multiply these together first, or you can just divide by those two numbers. To find M. So the best thing to do would be to go home and practice these problems without anything in front of you, and then check your work. 4196 kilograms. So the thing to remember about varies jointly, all the arrows go up, so your equation is multiplication. Any questions on 21? Okay, so we're gonna do, the last one we'll do together right now is 23. So this is the combination one. So you're gonna have direct and inverse. So we have the volume V of a gas varies inversely. So first we'll start with volume, goes up. First one always goes up. It says varies inversely as the pressure P. Does P go up or down? Down. And directly as the temperature T. What does T do?
Up.
Go up. I'm pretty sure the one tomorrow is like this, the volume, pressure, and temperature.
Wait, I thought it said like directly with behind one of the other ones. I thought it would like redirect with that.
I know what you're saying. It's kind of confusing how the sentence is, but it's like talking about the volume varies inversely with this, and then it's talking about, yeah, the volume and the temperature. Okay, so let's fill in our chart, and then we'll talk about our equation. So a certain gas has a volume of 30 liters, a temperature of 350, and a pressure of 1 atmosphere. If the gas is compressed to a volume of 10 and is heated to 300, what will the new pressure be? Okay, so on the varies jointly one, everything was multiplied. On this one, we'll have kind of a combination of both. So there's our direct, there's our inverse. So we're going to have something being multiplied and something being divided. So we start with volume. We always have our K. What gets multiplied? The T, right, because it's the same direction as the V. And then we divide by P. Okay, so let's go ahead and find K. We always find K first. 30 equals K times 350 divided by 1. How do you solve for K? Yeah, I mean, I know the 1 is just a 1 here, but in case it's a different number, make sure you know how to do that. You multiply by that number. So this would be 30 equals K times 350, and then divide by 350. So 30 divided by 350 is 0.0986. I'll do that. Okay, and then we plug in everything to find the P. So now our new V is 10 equals K 0.086 times temperature 300 divided by P. How do you get that P out of the denominator? Multiply, right. So I'm kind of out of room here, but we'll do that. So then you get 10P equals whatever that is. 25.8. And divide by 10. So P equals 2.58 atmospheres, ATM.